This is Roger Struckoff with Syscon TV. We're at day 2 at Cloud Expo East in New York in the year 2015. And right now I'm sitting with Brian Reagan with Actifio. Thank you for joining us. Tell our audience a little bit about what the company does and why you're here at Cloud Expo.
It's a pleasure to be here. So Actifio is in the copy data virtualization business. Essentially what VMware did for the compute layer, Actifio is now doing for data. And so allowing a new level of speed of access, consolidation of physical storage down to virtual, and real cost savings. Really we generally tell, and our clients tell us rather, when they implement Actifio, they get 4 primary benefits. They get time back, time to access data, to recovery time. They get cost out because a virtual copy of their data costs a heck of a lot less to store than a physical copy. You don't need as much storage, in other words. They get quality. If you can access your data more frequently in a development cycle, for example, you can run more tests, and actually the quality of the tests and the quality of the code that comes out goes up. And finally, risk and risk mitigation. By having instant access to data, regardless of the data size, in a traditional disaster recovery scenario, we might be waiting for days before we could get an application back. Now we can give it back to them in minutes, which obviously reduces the risk of exposure or outage. So that's a little bit about Actifio.
What sort of data? What sort of data types? And structured, non-structured, and does that matter?
Yes, so all of the above. Actifio is essentially a software platform that can capture pretty much any data other than mainframe data, and then allow customers to manage that data in its native form in a development context, in a data protection context, in a compliance and control context. And you asked the question, why are we here? Well, DevOps is clearly, when we talk to the large accounts and large businesses around the world, we see that DevOps is actually top of mind for most CIOs. They know they need to move faster. They know they need to introduce more agility into the IT service delivery as well as the overall application management. And Actifio's platform is playing a key role in a lot of very large organizations today as they transition from waterfall to agile, as they transition from traditional ITSM to DevOps. And we thought, why not talk to the people who are thinking about it, doing it, and optimizing DevOps, firsthand.
It's a difficult challenge. There's this human element to what you're doing as well. Yes. What sort of challenges do you face, and how do you overcome them? And my observation, or I guess from people talking to me, is the dev is a little bit more with it than the ops.
Right.
And how do you address those challenges?
The cultural dimension is absolutely probably the hardest problem, right? People have been doing the same thing, or things the same way for many years. The processes, the run books, the disciplines are all very much set. Development, as to your point, is definitely, especially with the agile movement, has really moved ahead. And that's one of the reasons why I think the appeal of technologies like ours is the ops organization sees a critical automation step that can help them continue to manage the business the way they have, but just do it more efficiently and actually get up to speed with the development organization. That's
the buy-in right there.
Exactly right.
Now, I've heard that the data is growing. Have you heard that?
Allegedly, yeah. Yes.
So I imagine to what degree is that kind of a big dimension of the challenge your customers are facing? I mean, I would think in some cases maybe even they're suddenly realizing they have this holy crap moment, yep, and they have to come and do something. Is that kind of how it?
So the reality is data is growing, and the types of data are expanding. Right, we have Internet of Things. We have all of these new ways we're generating data. The unfortunate reality, though, is what contributes the most in terms of the excess storage expense and the data, essentially overwhelming data growth inside the enterprise, is all the copies of the data that we make. We have all of our data gathered from all of our Internets of Things and applications, and then we make a backup copy, and then we take some snapshots for the development, and then we make another copy over there for disaster recovery, and the compliance organization needs a copy, and let's do some analytics, and before long, you can have 16, 20 copies of your production instance. That's the problem that we're solving by virtualizing all of those copies. And so more data growth shouldn't have to necessarily mean more storage.
Got it. What's your URL?
Actifio.com, Actifio.com.
In addition to what you provide, which is the reason people should talk to your company, why else should they talk to your company? What are you going to tell them the reason that they absolutely need to be talking to you?
Well, I would go back to that VMware analogy. VMware solved a very important pain point in its first implementation, but then continued to drive value. People consolidated, they got cost out. Then they started to get better management. Then they started to get better resiliency. And before long, they were refactoring their applications to be virtual first. It was a long journey, but it has paid substantial dividends in terms of enterprise IT. The same is true with Actifio. You're going to get some immediate benefits of consolidation, of physical down to virtual copies of data. But we're going to take you on a journey that's going to continue to deliver value long after the first purchase and long after the first use. And there's not a lot of platforms out there that can promise that.
I love this kind of combination of virtualization, the cloud, and DevOps. Technology, the data, but the culture as well. It's one great big integrated thing. Activio.com is addressing that. We've been sitting here for a few minutes with Brian Reagan from Actifio. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for watching. For Syscon TV, this is Roger Struckoff.